We're going to be talking about how to construct a virtual community of mathematical practice amongst our teacher candidates, our practicing teachers, and our teacher educators. And this is in collaboration with the University of Indianapolis and Crystal House Academy. So a little bit of background before we begin our study. We know that, that when pre-service teachers have limited knowledge in their content, it impacts the way that they offer or facilitate mathematical discussions with their children. And another part that's specific to Indiana is that we have this changing curriculum with politics and legislation. Without getting too political, that we were a Common Core state. We've decided not to be a Common Core state, and instead we have this thing called college and career readiness in Indiana because we're special. And we are also expected to implement standards for mathematical practice, the exact same thing, except we decided to call it process standards. So one of the things that teachers in Indiana are expected to do and for children to demonstrate is how do these standards of mathematical practice work. So we're trying to prepare our pre-service teachers. At the same time, the teachers are trying to learn about it. So how do we make this a win-win situation? University of Indianapolis, we received a grant money from the Carnegie Foundation, and we developed a project that tries to get the pre-service teachers and the in-service teachers to collaborate and at the same time have some sort of professional development online model. And we began in 2013. We wanted this to be a symbiotic partnership, so it's a win-win situation in which our pre-service teachers go out to the field and they're learning about how to teach mathematics. At the same time, we wanted the in-service teachers at those, the hosting teachers at those schools to also benefit and learn about those mathematical practices. And I'm going to have Sarah talk a little bit about the partnership school that we were with. So,
I'm Sarah Weimer. I'm from Crystal House Academy, which is a network of charter schools in the urban core of Indianapolis. We have about 78% of our students receive free lunch. About another 16% receive a reduced price lunch, and 6% pay full price. So we have about 40% Latino population, about another 30% African American and mixed population, and then we have a 30% Caucasian population. So we're pretty well integrated together. We do operate our campus where we did this this particular project as a K-12 building, although we actually shortened our scope to just be 4 through 6.
And just quickly reviewing some literature that's out there, we looked at some of the characteristics of an expert professional development model, but they're not fully defined. That's something that we found. But we also found that online professional development virtual communities can be achieved with similar outcomes with face-to-face professional development opportunities. And in addition to that, we found that peer coaching results in a significantly greater transfer than one where one teacher demonstrates and then the candidate then just kind of implements the same thing. This peer coaching is instantaneous feedback right when you need it. So it's that kind of moment when you know what you did right or wrong, and that helps the person that's being coached. And then we also know that from what Knight studied is that using video sharing platform is a disruptive innovation. It enables the teacher and the coach to see a true picture of their teaching. So it's when the candidate views the video and then is able to really see and reflect on their practices because they're seeing kind of, it's like an outer body experience where they're seeing themselves teach. And so we found, Knight found that very effective. And so one of the things that we are trying to figure out, this is our driving question, is how can educator preparation programs leverage virtual communities of practice to address the necessary shift in mathematical practice and create more highly effective math-ready teachers. And John's going to talk about our cycle in which we developed this research and the kinds of instruments that we used.
So we laid out this plan, and we start here where our juniors, these are juniors that we're talking about, and they start in their math field in So we started here with that we helped them develop rich mathematical tasks with another math professor, Rachael Aming-Attai, who unfortunately could not be here today, and myself. And then they implement and focus on what we're calling the Common Core mathematical practices. And then we'll continue around this little heuristic here, and we'll explain each bubble. But in the middle, notice that we are trying to establish a very vibrant and interactive professional learning community with Crystal House and their teachers, and we'll show you how that works in a second. So we have some technology, and the first thing we have been using Edthena for 2 years, and I want to introduce Adam Geller. Adam, you want to say hi to folks?
Hi. They skipped over me during the introductions. I was like, oh, no.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Edthena was gracious enough to sponsor 3 Edthena presentations at AACTE, and we thank Adam for doing that. Adam's the founder of Edthena, and we'll talk about that here in a second. And you'll actually see a teacher teaching through the platform of Edthena. The other thing that we use out in the field to record our candidates, they're out there every Monday and Wednesday for an hour. And we use this robotic camera, which is called the swivel. Are people using swivels? Yes? Yes? No? Fantastic. So you know how the swivel works. And it has a marker on it. Our candidates would have this around their neck. And then the marker will follow, the camera will follow you wherever you go and record. It's a little slow sometimes because it gets confused by the lights and so forth, but it will eventually make its way around. And so it continues to record, and then we upload these videos to the Edthena platform. And there's just a little picture of the swivel and so forth. The swivels are about $2.99 each, so they're fairly affordable, and they work very well. They work very well with the interface with Edthena as well. Oops, sorry.
So
we can come back and answer questions about the technology here in a second. I think I'll give you that too.
So our process for this, as you can see, we had our pre-service teachers teach our 4th through 6th graders in small groups. And we did this, you'll see it when we get to our data section too. We did it in slightly different ways with each grade level. Our 4th grade, we had it supplement, sub-instruction, and then 5th and 6th grade, we had it in addition to traditional instruction. But our pre-service teachers sat down with small groups of students. In some ways, I think we actually started it where all of the groups were the same, and they were the same each time that the candidate saw them. And then as we started to get closer to our ISTEP, which is our annual summative assessment, we started to change that up a little bit, and they got into very targeted specific groups based on the skills that the students were missing. And so that kind of changed up some of the pre-service teachers' experiences as well. And then they uploaded their videos to Edthena, and then our teachers then also became coaches. And we had our 4th, 5th, and 6th grade teachers who were coaches. We also had special education, English language learner teachers, and then we also had our instructional coaches who are all on Edthena and coaching the pre-service teachers, providing them feedback. The rubric that we used was the EQUIP rubric. And John, I don't know if you want to talk about that at all.
The EQUIP rubric is anybody using the EQUIP rubric out of Clemson University by any chance? No? It was created by Jeff Marshall and his group at Clemson, and it's really a neat rubric. It's for inquiry-based teaching of math and science. There's an app for it on the iPad, and so you can actually score students as you're sitting there on your iPad, and you can upload that and so forth. but it's called the Inquiry in Motion rubric, and that's what their institute's called. And we had conversations with Jeff about how he uses it with his pre-service and in-service teachers and so forth. But it has. Do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the four factors, and you'll see the rubric on the next slide as well.
Yeah.
But the four factors that we looked at are instructional, discourse, assessment, and curriculum. For the purpose of this study, we actually just focused on the discourse factors. And so we did some training with our teachers, with our my teachers, in the discourse factors on this particular rubric, and then also in the math practices. So we had one full day of training on the rubric, and then we actually did two 1-hour professional development sessions on the math practices, and then we've also done extensive training throughout for the last 2 years on the math practices as well. John, I think you're next.
So, as Sarah mentioned, there were four kind of major themes in terms of, let me go back, instructional factors, discourse factors, assessment factors, and curriculum factors. One of the things that the EQUIP team, and EQUIP is actually a project that was UNICEF funded, the EQUIP team advised us is not to do all four of those factors because it's pretty intense in terms of the rubric. This is a rubric of the discourse factors. And so when we originally started this project, we said, okay, we're only going to look at discourse because we wanted to have the teachers hold students accountable in terms of getting students to construct viable arguments, right? And that's a mathematical practice. And so we looked at all these 5 constructive measures. And for the purpose of today's session, in terms of how does Edthena work and how we're using this rubric, we're only going to be looking at D2, which is the complexity of the question in which the candidate is asking and holding that rigor for those students. And now what we're going to do is we're going to simulate what this looks like. And John is going to play the role of the coach, and I will try to play the role of the student. And this entire room, you will also be playing the role of the coach. So when John's going to pull up the video, you have a transcript here that's at your table, and you can follow along with it, because it's kind of hard to hear the student's voice getting mumbled a little bit. So you can follow along with this transcript as John's playing. And one of the things that we like you to do is, using your coach hat, we want you to think about what are some strengths and suggestions that you would provide this pre-service teacher. What are some questions or concerns or comments you have so that you can provide comments to this pre-service teacher. And one of the things we want you to look at also is we kind of copied and paste the discourse factor of complexity of questions on top. So you kind of look for what level is this pre-service teacher at when they are in terms of the complexity of her questioning skills.
Right. Do you want to say what she's focusing on? Is it on there?
Oh,
Perimeter and area
So she's
stuff?
focusing on perimeter and area, and I think it's a 4th grade, 3rd grade.
This is 4th grade, I think.
It's a 4th
Yeah.
grade classroom. There's 4 students in this classroom, and they're focusing on perimeter and area with respect to getting them to know about hands. So different, large hands, large areas, and so forth.
Does that make sense to folks? Questions before we?
So you said students.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The kiddos, there's 4 kiddos in this
Those
video.
right there, those kids.
And
Yeah.
they are 4th grade kiddos in
Yeah.
which they are learning about perimeter and area. We have this problem often.
Yeah.
We started following the university students, the candidates. That's what we get to distinguish.
Yeah.
Good candidates, teachers, and students.
Ready? Okay. Oops. What's going on? Oh, it just worked. Now, don't do this to me. Okay. Sound is up. Here, let me go over here.
Hands like this.
Oh, like the smaller hand is the area, and the outside is a bigger.
Well, this would be our what?
A perimeter.
Perimeter. And this would be our area. So who has the bigger area? Me or Julian?
Julian.
Or Julian, sorry. Who has the bigger area between our hands? Me. What about your partners? Look again.
I do. Except our thumbs are the same.
Are your thumbs the same?
Yes. Okay. Same. No, they're the same. Because I didn't feel that they're small. Actually,
They're very similar, aren't they?
Isn't it feeling the hands smaller?
Okay, now go ahead and put your hands down.
Our hands are small.
Yes, all your hands are smaller than my hands. So we're going to look at these three shapes right here. Think in your head, which one do you think has the bigger area?
This one. Wait, no, this one.
Did I say point or think in your head? Once you have it, put your thumbs up like this. Which? Okay, ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, what's your guess? That one. That one. That one. What's your guess? This one. Okay, so if we look at these three shapes,
I counted this one. This one's still.
how can we find the area?
By counting. Looking inside. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like if this was mine. We'll count the area, not the perimeter. Mine would be bigger.
Okay, Gianni, explain what you're doing. Explain how you got your answer.
I got the perimeter. I didn't.
You got the perimeter, but we want area, so how can we find the area?
So 3 plus 3 is 6, and that's 6. So 6 plus 6 is 12.
So show us how you did that. Show us how you did this one.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 6 plus 6.
So you counted these top squares. You see that, Mia? And then you counted those. Then you added them. Yeah.
I know, because look, if you can read that, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah. That does
Uh-huh.
So this one, so it'll be kind of like that.
So you're kind of...
No, that one's 16.
Explain what you're doing.
If you could, if this was it, and then that one...
You cut. So you're cutting it, and then you're putting that one on top. Okay. Yes.
If you see what...
Look at me, please.
If you can see which one is the perimeter, and I didn't kind of guess, right? I didn't really know that.
Oh, you meant this one? That's okay. Okay, Mia, explain what you were doing for this one when you decided.
I was just like counting the insides of them.
So Mia was counting on the insides. So let's see. Mia, you count those. Gianni, did you figure out those? What did you say?
6 plus 6 is 12.
And how would you figure out this one? Good.
This has 16.
So this one, Mia says, has 16. This one, what did you say, Gianni? Has 12.
6.
And this one has 6. So which one has the bigger area? This one. Yep, you can count it. So that one has 16 square units.
Because 8 plus 8 equals 16.
Yep, because we had 4, 4, 4, and 4. Good.
If that one, if this one would be bigger and this one would be bigger, it might it gives me trouble because I don't really know which one.
Which one's? Well, like we did before, we counted the area, or you counted each square, and you told me that what the area was, like on this one. So then we can compare the areas once you counted them, right? Good. Okay, so now we're going to look at some different shapes.
Absolutely.
Is the teacher wearing a mic?
Yeah, she's wearing the, this
The
marker.
swivel camera.
Yeah, what happened when the kid blocks the, did you see the little kid and he kept putting his, rear end, he blocks the swivel, the infrared, so the swivel starts going, where's my marker, where's my marker? And that's why it flies around. Yeah.
I know, but it was good quality sound.
Yes, it's very good quality sound. And I'll just say real quickly, with swivel now, if you buy 2 markers, you can actually use 1 marker to record the video or the audio. So you can put it here, and it'll pick up the audio at the table, and then the other one will track the teacher. It's a new update from swivel. Yeah. Okay, I have to share that video
Yeah, so
with you.
one of the things that John's doing right now is he's going to share this video with me because I'm going to be the candidate that kind of layers comments, coaches comments. But maybe we can, while he's doing that, talk a little bit about what you guys noticed in terms of if you're a coach and you are going to be providing feedback to this candidate.
I want to share that
What
with
would
Jean.
you, how would you respond to this candidate?
Yeah,
What would
she's
you
in that
say?
group
What are
that
some
she should be
questions
able to
you would
see.
ask this candidate
Okay.
based on what you heard? So you want to know what the prior knowledge is.
Some kind of question that she would have asked at the onset to kind of give me some sense.
Sure, okay, so that's probably a comment that you would write on into Edthena, figuring out, can you do that right now?
Yeah, is it a string, what was
It
it?
is
Suggestion?
It is a question.
Question, okay.
So you can see that,
Hands like this.
Oh my goodness, Mom.
So what you do is you hit that little plus sign wherever you want to do the comment, and then let's just say it came right here. So then we hit question, and then your question was,
student's prior knowledge, what's the student's prior
oh,
knowledge
okay.
about?
What is the student's prior knowledge?
About area and perimeter.
Oh, about area and perimeter, okay.
So what is the objective of the lesson? Great question.
And we'll show you a little bit how that works. And then if you want to, you can also pull down the equip rubric, which is uploaded up here, and you can tag it to the domain, the instruction, discourse, curriculum, and so forth domain. But for right now, we'll just submit the question
Here's the area and the
up here. And then you can see that your question is right here for the candidate to see, and she can come back to the video and click on it, and it'll take her right to that point in the video, which is nice. Go ahead.
What other, yes.
There was a point about 150 where the one student says, so there's 3 plus 3 is 6, so 6 plus 6 is 12, and that kid obviously had some spatial things that the other kids didn't. So I think I would encourage the candidate to make sure that the person who sees something different explains that it was obvious to her what that student was doing, but it wouldn't have been obvious to the other kids who had to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
So maybe.
A suggestion?
Suggestion.
Okay. So,
Suggestion is that the candidate needs to focus on, or the appreciation of different representations.
I think that was, I don't know.
something like to ask the other student to explain. Okay.
Yeah, but it's a
Oh.
it's a note.
Oh, it's a note?
Yeah, can you make that a note?
She did that, but I didn't think it was clear to the other kids.
She's right, okay.
It was clear to her what the kid did, but I didn't think she made that clear to the kids.
Okay. Okay. We'll go with, so then your note or your suggestion comes up in green, as you can see here. Yep.
We'll take one more for the purpose of showing you how this works.
How about telling her she had a good strength in her communication with the students, or contact with
Okay, so
Will be bigger.
Okay.
good, hit that, strength, and we can just say good communication with,
So your,
yes.
your virtual coach,
Hey, Gianni,
Ooh,
explain what
sorry.
you're doing.
Wait a second.
who is actually giving the feedback to the candidate? Is it the peer coach, the teacher, or is it the university supervisor?
We have, each one of our candidates is, like 3 or 4 of them, is assigned to one of Sarah's coaches. And this year, they're all assigned to master coaches. And so the master, we'll show this in a minute, but what happens is that the candidate gets to videotape on a Monday. Then the videos are uploaded later that day. Edthena works extremely well. Then the candidate next day will go in, and I have a protocol for them to look at. And so they'll go in, and we're going to actually look at this in a second, and they'll make some remarks, noticing, kind of using the noticing framework, and they'll notice what they did about how they taught the lesson, what they paid attention to. They'll make some comments or questions, then the master coach will go in, and we'll show you this in a second, and make a number of comments about the student's teaching.
And when you say master coach, is this a teacher?
Yeah, those are the teachers that
Right.
are practicing teachers.
Right. So some of Sarah's teachers have been trained TAP. Does anybody do the TAP?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Teacher evaluation.
That's
So some of the teachers are actually master coaches. And they don't teach, right? So master
The master
coaches.
teacher, we have 2 master teachers who do not
Master
teach, and then we have, actually all of our coaches were mentor teachers, which means that they get extensively trained in a rubric as well and evaluation.
That's why your master teachers university.
I'm just thinking about the time for the practicing teacher to
Oh,
view the video.
it's about an hour. It's about an hour per video.
They all receive stipends as well,
Okay.
to be able to give the feedback. But I would say it was probably about a 3-hour commitment each week. They watched 2 videos each week, and not every single candidate videoed every time. We had a scheduled rotation, so I think over the course of the 3 months, it was 5 times in 3 months that they were videoed and received feedback.
So I think one of the confusion is that for the purpose of our project, the people who went in and commented on these videos were classroom teachers, in which we call them coaches. But in the scope of Edthena, if you wanted to, and for those that we're talking about maybe induction support, you could have mentors who work at your university or faculty go in and view these videos and be coaches themselves and layer comments into those implementations. Does that kind of help clarify a bit?
Yeah, at the University of Michigan, I just said University of Michigan, they're using Edthena extensively too. And actually on one video, they'll have the university supervisor and the clinical field supervisor and the student, all 3 of them are remarking or commenting on their video, which is really powerful because the conversation is coherent then. The field supervisor knows what the instructor, the professor's doing, and they're all commenting at the same time, which is nice.
So, I apologize if you're getting here.
No, that's
And
good.
you're going to say this,
Yeah.
but I'm curious, so I understand you're going to get these comments and from different sources and the candidate then has them. And then is there a point in time where they actually in real time might be talking together about what is going on in the video based on some of the comments that were made?
We haven't gotten there yet. They don't sit down, at least in our class, they don't sit down and look at their video together. But in Jean's Woodrow Wilson class, they actually do that through a video club.
Okay.
Okay? But what we do though, is once we see the video, once Rachel and I look at the videos and understand what themes are kind of questioning is always there. So we'll workshop questioning then the next day, like on Wednesday, and then we expect them to make revisions to their lessons, and we expect to see those revisions, that questioning is getting, this richer
Yeah,
questioning
that
is
is,
going
because
on.
I guess what I was getting at that was I was thinking, you want experiences for the candidates post this video and that allows them to actually do something with the information, make sense of the information and move forward with it, and just reading the comments in a very not interactive way may not be enough to
To really change the practice, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
We actually last year had my teachers and the candidates get together at the end of the project, and they were talking about how one of their pieces of feedback were we need to meet during the project. And so we actually made that modification this year, and they meet once a month during the project.
So they wanted that face-to-face.
They wanted the face-to-face interaction.
Just a real quick question, you mentioned that they get a stipend, so I was thinking the infrastructure on this, who pays that stipend?
Our Carnegie grant pays that stipend, and then we have another STEM grant this year to pay the stipend. So the teachers receive $1,000 to review around 5 videos. So it's not a huge amount of money or anything like that, but it's a little bit of an incentive to, you know, a thank you, a big thank you for going above and beyond practice.
So what I'm doing right now is I am now the pre-service teacher or the candidate that just looked at my coach's comments, and I am layering my comments along with under John's comment, who's the coach. So as you can see here, John said, what's the student's prior knowledge about area and perimeter, right? And so as a candidate, I would explain to John that students had some knowledge about area and perimeter. They knew the difference between units squared and units respectively. And so then I go to my next one, and the coach says, candidate needs to ask the other students to explain, and then I, as the candidate, says, yeah, good point. I need to get the other students to listen to each other and explain their own thinking and understanding to each other. And then John might say, good communication with students, and I would go to and say, thank you. I am improving. And let's say I had a question then for my coach, then I can go ahead and say, well, around this part, you can't see this, but...
Well, like we did before, we counted the area, or you counted each school.
At this point, I have a question, and my question is, I don't understand this student's thinking here. Can you help me? And I can submit that to my coach, and that should come up on the coach's computer. And so it's a dialogue in which we can instantaneously tag a second in the video, and so you know where my comments and his comments are associated with those instantaneous segments. Does that make sense? So, and then we can have a dialogue with that and then he can reply underneath my comment and so forth.
So when you're given a video to review, you are given a time frame within which you must respond?
Yes.
Because
They must
other than that, I can see a
You mean the candidates and the coaches?
Yes,
They
all
have
all the persons who need to respond to this clip.
They have 5 days.
So it can come at any point.
Yeah.
And we actually gave the teachers, they had a 2-day turnaround.
Right.
So if it was uploaded on a Monday, it had to be commented on by Friday for the candidates, so that because the candidates would teach then again on Monday. So they needed time to go in and make comments and redesign their lesson plans and things like that for their teaching on Monday.
And the candidates only teach on a Monday? Or
Monday and Wednesday.
And this is like an initial process, or this is just how it is at your school?
So the candidates came in for half an hour or 35 minutes every Monday and Wednesday and worked with small groups of students. And so this was just something, I mean, it's not, this started because of the partnership and because of the structures that we wanted, the relationship structures we wanted to have with the university. It's not normal practice in the rest of our school.
I just want to add a kind of
Sure,
contrasting model, because I feel like some of the questioning here is around, you guys have kind of an extended timeline. Just to provide a counterpoint, we actually have a program operating essentially a statewide coaching network in Colorado for teachers in their field placements. And their model is the teachers upload the videos the same day, the coaches do 24-hour turnaround, the candidates do 24-hour turnaround, right? So they have created the expectation in their program that it's just every day, right? Because they get an email every morning saying these are the new videos or these are the new comments. And so they use that aspect of the platform to kind of push it forward and make sure there isn't a backlog of work to do, which feels like was what your question was. It's like, how does this become manageable if you think about operating along a lot of candidates, their model is showing that you can't actually just kind of do it day by day.
And this is what John was talking about earlier. So the pre-service teachers would review their videos and use their feedback to adjust their next lesson. And then, as John said, the instructors then would also go in and view those. The university professors would go in and look at the feedback that was given and design these very specific mini lessons to help with the lesson planning for the next session as well.
Could you repeat that? After you have reviewed it, 3 persons review it, and the student is seeing it, and they re-plan the lesson again, what happens?
The university professors also would go in and look at the comments and target very, very specific mini lessons for their instruction. So they would have, they do their fields, well, currently they do their fields and then they have class afterwards.
Seminar, yeah?
Yes, and so during the seminar class, they have very, very specific mini lessons that they would do to address some of the concerns that we were seeing in those. There's a question about.
Yeah, how or what kind of data do you use or take to see the changes from the pre-coaching to after?
Great question, great question. We'll show you data here in a second, okay?
Good question.
So that leads us straight to this slide.
Here we go. Yeah, here's the data.
So this is the rubric that EQUIP kind of gave us. There's 4 different factors, and this is the discourse factors. This is a teacher that is evaluating a candidate, not the same candidate that we watched. But this teacher said that this candidate is at developing inquiry for all 5 constructed measures, and then the teacher is able to then, or the coach is able to then put in some comments for that candidate. And then our other form that we have our teachers fill out is a summative overview of holistically determining what level the candidate is in terms of the discourse, right? So that there's also instruction, assessment, curriculum, and lesson, but we're only looking at discourse. And then we look at the score in which it's a level 1, 2, 3, or 4, and this candidate, a random candidate, scored a level 2. So we use this form and we use this form to find out where the weaknesses that our candidates are demonstrating. And then from that, we say, okay, well, our candidates need a workshop on formative assessment. They're really bad at that. Or our candidates need a workshop on probing questions or following up with these questions. And so that's where we had our field experience tied to our methods course. And during those methods course at that school, we would then provide workshops for the candidate and say, this is what we want to see next time when you teach. Does that clarify your question?
So it sounds more qualitative, the data that you're keeping in
We have to
say, say questioning is an issue versus frequency counting, questioning, pre-coaching, and after.
I think our reasons for doing this is to be responsive and to make it more relevant for the candidates in terms of what they need to better enhance their teaching. But we do have some quantitative data in terms of the improvement that we saw in the elementary students' improvement of their math scores. So we have some of that too as well. And so then, based on what Sarah said, the feedback that the pre-service teachers get from the coaches, then the pre-service teachers develop rich tasks, again, with the help of UND instructors and to implement the Common Core mathematical practices and some of those discourse factors that we looked at.
Let me just kind of say one thing. On the edge, and I didn't show this to you, but on the Edthena video, on each student's video, they also upload their lesson plan that the coach can see. Then after the lesson, they usually take pictures with their iPhones and the student work samples, and they upload and they write comments on that. Then they upload that to the video. So when the coach looks at the video, she's looking at the video, the lesson plan, the learning targets, and scored student work samples. So the coach is getting a pretty comprehensive view of what the student did and how she assessed the student.
it's uploaded right on the video itself.
And I will actually say that our coaches' feedback, from my standpoint, our teachers, said that one of the most vital pieces is actually not the lesson plan, it's the student work.
Right.
And so being able to give very, very specific feedback also about, to be able to have that and say, no, this kid did not understand what was going on in any way, shape, or form. Or this kid had it, they were just thinking about it a little bit differently than the way that you were. So that,
Right.
that piece is really, really vital.
So, just in the interest of time, they can put the description of the lesson, the grade level, the subject, and then they can also, oops, down here, Adam.
No, I think you,
Yeah.
because you reshared, you uploaded this video again. So
Oh, so it's not there, okay. It's not there, but you would see a lesson plan attached to this as well. You just click on it and it pops up in Word. It's really, yeah.
Going back to your question is that, and Adam, you can speak to this, but this is not a video coding software in which you tag and say, oh, complexity of question, level 2, complexity of level question, level 3. I think the purpose of Edthena is to provide constructive feedback for that teacher rather than making it as like, I'm going to go in and evaluate at what level this person is performing at. We wanted to, that's why we had those rubrics on equip to figure out in terms of evaluation purposes, but in terms of Edthena, that's not their goal. Want to explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I mean, I just want to just affirm what you said, which is the conversation experience really is designed to kind of realize the research around the kind of collaborative discussions. So it's really, you know, it basically prevents you from having a type of interaction on the video itself where you're going in and coding specific, you know, level 2, level 3, level 2, level 2, level 3, level 3, and instead providing the type of information that is very targeted and useful for the candidate when they're receiving that feedback. Just a little bit of review, John, to an extent here, I bet. We will actually be bringing some of that rating information into the platform in a totally different area of the platform than what they're showing you today. So that is an aspect of something that we will be building in.
And I'll just say, because I know we're getting, we had a robust conversation about this because our thinking in the very beginning was to go in and almost like studio code the teacher teaching. Well, Anna said that's not the purpose. We want to generate rich conversations around practice, and that's what we're trying to do.
And we actually didn't even share the scores, or the scores that the teachers gave the candidates until the very end of the project too. Because we didn't want them to start getting obsessed with the numbers. We wanted them to be obsessed with the feedback, the conversation. So.
And all of this is done in small groups, so the rest of the class, the teacher is expected to do something.
No, we had, every single student in the classroom was in a small group with a candidate. So we had
So you have
19
several candidates
Yes.
within the same class.
Yes.
Like we had last year, we had 17 candidates that were spread over fourth, fifth, and sixth grades.
So in one class, you have more than one individual. And your mentor teachers are finding that.
Yes.
This is a practical experience.
It's a junior level field experience.
So another sort of technical question. What if any types of permission did you have to get to have the videotapes occur regularly?
We actually have all of our students when they register, they sign a release form, a press release form, so it's generic. We have complete permission to use it for the school, use our image. We actually didn't have any parent that opted out of that.
So the language of that covers this use for educational.
Yep, good question.
So just in terms of our selfishness, from our perspective as a school, and trying to promote the symbiotic relationship, this virtual professional learning community has actually been culture changing for our school. And I'll get into some of that in just a second. But in terms of it's okay.
Sorry, Sarah.
In terms of the practicing or the candidates' comments,
Obviously, the opportunity to have this immediate feedback and to see themselves teaching takes our candidates from unconsciously incompetent to consciously competent and incompetent in some ways. But it raises the level of awareness and consciousness for the candidates. And then just a few more comments. Very, very targeted, very specific feedback was able to be made. And like we showed you too, that we were able to stop in that moment in time in the video and say, here's exactly where you missed your opportunity for this question. From the coaches' experiences, here are some comments from them as well. Their feedback was, it was an amazing opportunity to see teaching happen that wasn't their own, so they didn't have to feel self-conscious about it, but it raised their level of awareness also about what was critical to getting kids to understand mathematics and their own math processes. So as you can see from here, it caused them to reflect about their own teaching, which from my perspective is golden. It allows them to, or inspires them, I should say, to try new things. They'll see things that the candidates are doing. All of the candidates had iPads also, and so there were times when they were doing things on the iPad, and my teachers were like, I need to fuse more technology into my lessons. And then having the math practices, professional development alongside of what they were doing with the candidates was completely invaluable. And then building the collaborative environment, taking it to the next level from our perspective, our teachers found that the focus on the conversation and not the numbers is what was important to them as well. And so we're actually changing. We're moving in Indiana. Our TIP funding it has dried up, and so we're in this place where we're talking about what do we do with teacher evaluations after this year. And so one of the things that we're looking at is moving to a more feedback approach rather than an evaluative approach. And so losing the numbers and increasing the conversation, and we'll be able to do that through this.
I think that second quote is remarkable because I think that's usually about not wanting to make ourselves harder. Once you become vulnerable, then you really put yourself to learning and wonderful things happen.
And we host student teachers as well from the university, and so I think that is a really important thing to share and to fuse into our culture to make sure that the candidates, the student teacher candidates, are ready for collaboration the next year as well. Anything else?
So we just shared very quickly some results. Go ahead, Sarah. So Crystal House administers the Acuity formative assessment test 3 times a year. And what was the beauty of this design was that the students, 60, 70 students, were divided into 2 groups. Half that group went to English language arts. The other half stayed with the candidates. So we had a control experimental design built in. So this is Acuity data, and this is, I don't know if you use Acuity, it's a McGraw-Hill. McGraw-Hill benchmark math test that's given 3 times a year, and it was originally used to predict whether or not the students would pass the state test. And so we became involved here, so we didn't have any intervention. The intervention started here, and then we factored out how well the students, the little kids, did with our teachers, and you can see that we had a statistical impact on their learning based on the Acuity math scores. Does that make sense to folks? Yep, okay. Then, sorry. You can go to the next one. Then this is just a quick chart. It'll make you crazy. I know, we know you can't see it, but this is iStep data. This is our annual test data at the end of the year. And we saw that in 2013, the pass rate for grade 5 was 70%. The pass rate at the end of the year when we worked with the small groups was up to 90%. the same for 90 to 96. Then you can also see, I'm sorry, the control group. I'll just point this out for one thing because we're running out of time. This control group dropped, so this control group is being taught by Crystal House teachers and actually went down, where the kids that we taught went up. So we entered this data, it's messy data, because we have teachers, Sarah's teachers teaching math to their kids. We are also teaching math to their kids. So untangling, the impact is kind of, it's messy. But we wanted to see if we were make sure we were doing no harm in our field when junior level students were taking over 2 math periods a week from Sarah's teachers.
And this
Go
one
ahead,
was
Sarah.
the one that I was talking about. The 4th grade data right here. This was a supplement to the regular teacher's math instruction. So they came in, the UNE candidates came in and took over 30 minutes Monday and then 30 minutes on Wednesday instead of the math teacher teaching. And so we saw here that was a really bad model to use. But here this was in addition to. So these 2 grade levels, they were in addition to the general math instruction. So it's an additional hour and 10 minutes a week of math instruction that the students received. The other thing with grade 5 is that teacher looped with their kids. So she taught them in grade 4, and then she taught them again in grade 5. So when you see here, we've got 68% to 88%. That's another thing that we were talking about as for ourselves, the value of looping with urban kids.
With all of those variables, though, how do you set it? How do you control for those so that you are sure that really and truly it's what you're doing that's creating the difference? Because I hear a lot of stuff. I hear extra time, which could,
Yeah, and the control of the variables is very difficult. We'll just say that right up front.
And it wasn't our intent to necessarily look at this impact on our students. It was, like John said, it was to just make sure that we weren't doing any harm.
The other thing, the slide we're not showing you is that we took, so if I'm teaching your table, I took the acuity score, we took the acuity scores of you, and we paired it with the teacher, our candidate that was teaching the 3 of you. So I can see my impact on you, my impact on you, and my impact on you. So that's also a set of data that we're not sharing with you as well, which is really interesting. Because you'll see some candidates having an impact, and some candidates not having an impact. The other thing that happened in the 4th grade, where the scores went down, in that room during the fall semester, we had 2 teachers quit the program. So we had to put 2 more juniors in there. And then the 3rd person was counseled out of the program. So we just by happenstance, we had a weaker group of candidates in that 4th grade classroom, which was a real lesson learned for us in terms of how we teach students. And we know that the students who are not very good at math gravitate to the lower grades, and that's what they did. They wanted to teach 4th grade. We tracked rubric scores, the equipped rubric scores, and across and the beginning scores and the end scores, video 1 and video 4, it does show an increase for the most part. So we're doing this again. We're collecting acuity data, we're collecting equipped rubric data, and so we've been doing it all this year as well. So we'll have more data to kind of add to the story. Go ahead.
and do you use the Edthena how do you interface that with your rubric in terms of getting somebody from, that was one of them, the developmental to something a little higher? Have you been thinking about how those things interface? Did I make myself clear?
Yeah. So our coaches, one of the things that they were trained to do is have the rubric next to
I might just as a last thing, just tell you here that where are the rubric? What we're doing. Oh shoot! What happened? Oh, what we're doing now is that with the rubric, and like Jeff Marshall was saying from the institute. So what they focus on instructional this semester. And then they do, next time, the next video, they'll do instructional and discourse. The next time, they'll do discourse and assessment. The next time, they'll do assessment and curriculum. So that's the way we're kind of sequencing the rubric so we hit the whole rubric this semester. Does that make sense to folks?
Yes. Initially, you said that they were advised to only do.
Yes, they only do one at a time. Right. Right.
But we'll still do just instructional factors even though they did this course, or you're saying we're going to add instructional factors to this
Right.
course since they already went through.
Right. This semester, starting in January, we started with instruction. And then video 1, video 2, instruction and discourse.
Gotcha.
Video 3, discourse and assessment. Yes.